Thank you so much for joining us again on Jadu Lifestyle Podcast. We hope you've been enjoying our programs and our interviews. And today we have another fantastic interview for you, Miss Donna Satiro. This month we've been trying to keep our topic kind of within the guidelines, or not guidelines, but within the stay at home, quarantine, kind of idea, and what we can do to help ourselves should we ever be in a situation like this again. Donna is a certified clinical hypnotherapist, and she has, well, first of all, let me welcome her. Hi, Donna, and welcome to our show today. And
Thank you, sir.
before I go into describing you, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Well, sure. Thank you. And thank you for having me on. It's such a pleasure to chit chat with you again. Love
Yep.
doing that. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. I suffered from trauma years ago, and it wasn't something that was on my menu to be when I grew up, certainly not my mom's. But I found it to be a very effective modality in helping heal people from trauma. And so when I experienced that, I decided, well, that was what I was looking to do. I wanted to help other people.
Well, I want to tell you this. The word hypnotherapy and hypnotherapist, I wouldn't say that it scares me, but it literally, it's not something that I would choose as my first therapy. So what I would like you to do is to explain to me, if you could convince me that hypnosis or a hypnotherapist is somebody I need to have in my back pocket, I would really appreciate that.
Oh, I would be more than happy. That's a very common question. A lot of people do have a thought or a belief about what hypnosis is. But basically, it's very simple. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. It's an awakened state. It's an altered state. So you have different levels. You have your beta, which is your normal waking state, brainwave state, running throughout the day. We actually hypnotize ourselves hundreds of times during the day, fluctuating through these states. Alpha is like a resting state or a meditative state. Then you drop into theta, which is a deeper, more physical and mental state, less stress. It's a more relaxed state. And then you have delta, which is a deeper state, which is where our bodies do most of our regeneration and what I call maintenance and repair. Those are the deepest states. And we go through these states every morning when we wake up. We go through all these states when we go to bed at night and fall asleep. So it's not a form of mind control. It's a natural state. It's just an altered state. It's just the levels or the frequencies that our brains are going through as we shift, almost like shifting a car. 5-speed. You can go first, second, third, fourth, into fifth gears. It's just a level of awareness.
Okay, so that brings the question, if I do it every day, why do I need you?
When something is disturbing or troubling, most people will do the logical thing. It's even what our government does. If Holland declared war on the United States, the president would say, "Get me information on Holland." And while you're at it, get me information on me. What's wrong with me? It's that those thoughts, they're usually triggered by a lot of beliefs. Oh, what's wrong with me? What did I do? Why are they mad at me? So you're looking to get information. And so as our mind looks for that information, it's usually drawing the same information it has. It doesn't have any other information to access at that moment. So as it starts to self-analyze and wondering what's wrong with them, it's an intelligent thing to do. That's why they call it intelligence, getting information. But when something disturbing happens and there's not an understanding or another way that the mind has been able to grasp to think about it, then the person gets stuck. Then the mind is stuck kind of like a gerbil on a wheel. It starts spinning round and round. It's going, well, I did this and I did that and I did this and I can't understand why that. And that actually has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with what happened. It has actually to do with the way the mind is processing the information about the event.
Okay,
so when someone's stuck, hypnosis is a great tool to help shift or push that data that's been stuck through. Does that make sense?
It does. And that brings another question. Earlier in one of my podcasts, I talked about an incident that I had in my, well, you'd call it adult life, where there was domestic violence in the situation. And what I'm dealing with now is I journal a lot. And that's one of the lifestyle things that Jadu Lifestyle promotes very heavily, journaling, to literally assess where we are mentally and even physically and emotionally. So one thing that came up, and I've seen a lot of healing through my work with journaling in myself. One thing that came up is that I had a relationship with a person that was physically violent, and I got out of it. And it's been 32 years, but what I'm dealing with now in my journaling is um, intense hatred towards that person, which I didn't have before. But it brought up the question, have I forgiven that person or not? And if I haven't forgiven him, why have I not forgiven him? So, well, I guess my question would be, do you think that hypnosis would be one of the options I could take to deal with that, to find the answers to that?
Yes and no. Now, I'm also trained in another modality called rapid resolution therapy, and that's a little bit different. It's different in the sense that it's a different way of looking at a situation. The philosophy and behind the modality is way different. So what has been going on with our minds when we experience a situation like that, our minds bring in data. When something is disturbing, it comes in like high resolution. It's meant to, because the mind's job is to protect the organism, to cause the life. So when something's disturbing, mind goes, oh my God, better not let that happen again. And then hence, mind becomes highly vigilant. It's looking for that thing again. See, it's almost like we have two minds. We have this I-self dichotomy going on. I can't get myself started. I wish I could make myself stop doing that. I wish I could stop thinking like that. I wish I could just get myself motivated.
Hey, get out my head.
Yeah, we have this I-self dichotomy. And we actually, it's like we have two minds. We have the logical, rational thinking mind, which we do. And then we have the primitive mind, the emotional mind. They both process the information or the data coming in through our senses differently. And on one level, for example, the Vietnam vet who comes back and there are fireworks going off, he'll say to you, I know that those are just fireworks, but they still make me feel jittery inside. He, on every level, knows that they are fireworks and that he's totally present with you, and he knows that he's not in. His mind is still responding to that sound as if it were that situation. Then you have, the other guy that's under the kitchen table that doesn't have a clue what happened. Because the mind, it's an automatic response. If I were to put my hand on a hot stove, I'm not going to think, gee, my hand's on a hot stove, I better take it off so I don't burn it. It happens before we're even aware of it. So the mind's job is to protect. And so it does that in ways sometimes that seem very irrational. We know on one level that something has happened, but on the other level, the emotional mind is processing that information on our belief system, things that we believe, things that we've experienced, that part of the mind doesn't distinguish between something happening now or something that happened 10 years ago. It kind of runs on about the level of a goat, to be honest with you. So if you were to look at a primitive animal like zebra, for zebra, when she's fearful, running totally works for her. When her mind brings in data about lion, her brain causes her to be much stronger and faster in order to run from lion. As soon as lion gets still back there, because zebra only has to run faster than a slow zebra, as soon as Phil, is taken down back there, turns off like a turbo on a Porsche. If I could go up to Zebra and say, "Hey, Zebra, did you see the size of that lion?" She would say, "What lion, Donna? There's a lion where?" So that part of the brain is reading data as happening now. It doesn't. If it thinks something, it's happening. It doesn't say, "Oh, that was 10 years ago," or "That doesn't exist anymore. That was, in the past," because Zebra doesn't understand what past means. Zebra's totally present. Zebra's mind doesn't acknowledge that there's a past or that there's a future. It's totally present, and whatever's happening in front of Zebra is actually happening. And that's how our emotional minds process data or information when it comes in. And when something similar, like the Vietnam vet experiencing fireworks, when something has enough similarities, it triggers that data that's been stored, that's in incoming, that's stuck. It's not down the hall where you went to high school. You can tell me the name of your high school. You can probably tell me what it looks like, but your mind isn't processing it as if you're still in high school. You're aware that you're not in high school because that was not disturbing. It's stuck in what I would call incoming.
Okay, you've told us a lot about how the brain works, but I want to know, what can I do? We don't have a lot of time left, but if you can give me something, maybe one tip that I can do to deal with what I'm going through, or that trauma that comes up, or that incident that came up that disrupts my equilibrium. Can you do that?
First, you want to get your mind present. You have to realize that you're having that emotional response, getting your mind present. Deep breathing and breathing out slow activates and stimulates the vagus nerve. Taking some cold water, splashing it on your face, using your senses and picking out something out loud, like pick a color. I see a tree. Pick things that are present in the room with you, things that you can taste. Getting your mind present is key. Also, RRT, what I do, helps reboot, so to speak. Just like if you turn off your phone, when you turn it back on, the glitch is clear. You haven't lost the data. I don't cause people to lose the data. They totally remember what they had experienced. They just don't have that negative charge, that glitch that keeps causing them to experience those feelings and emotions. Those thoughts cause feelings and emotions to cause an action. And when an action can't take place, it becomes disturbing. And so getting mind present is key.
So how long would this process take? Is it dependent upon the trauma that I went through, or is it dependent on me? How long does it take? Can you say?
The most sessions I have done on a person has been 4. An average session for me is between an hour and a half to 2 hours, sometimes 3. But usually between an hour and a half to 3 hours, I can clear things such as a rape or let's say, a first responder who lost a kid, who has a kid at home and can't get his kid out because he lost this other kid. That are disturbing. Are those the kind of things that I just and like I said, usually one session or more.
Okay. We kind of broke up a little.